What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Live with RJ and Fishtails. Tonight, I'm super excited, and it takes a lot for me to get excited. Uh, it it's just one of those things. I mean, if you guys know me through the years, since I've even started YouTube, I go through a lot of trucks, I go through a lot of trailers, and trucks and trailers are my drugs. Now, fishing itself is a hobby, it's a passion, it's a way for me to heal. But trucks and trailers to me is my drug. I'm addicted to them and I never can get enough of them. So tonight's episode with Snake River Manufacturing, Jeff Little on is like probably one of my favorite shows to date for sure. And to prove the point to you that I have an addiction to trucks and trailers. Over the past 2 years and 1 month, I've had three new trucks and I've had three new trailers. So that tells you how many things I go through and how addicted I am to this thing. And we know today, with kayaks getting heavier and heavier and heavier, it's getting to the point where you almost need a trailer. You know, the younger guys can get away without having a trailer, but with these kayaks today, and older gentlemen out there that have heavier kayaks, they're going to want a trailer. And with Snake River Manufacturing, what sets them apart, in my opinion, is that Steve builds custom trailers. And I'm going to get this out of the way now. I've had numerous trailers in the past from kayak manufacturers, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but when I asked a manufacturer if they can give me A, B, and C, and I was told I can only have A and B because they have pre-made jigs and everything else. To me, that's not a custom kayak trailer. When I talked to Steve earlier, a couple weeks ago, I said, Steve, could you do A, B, and C? And he says, absolutely, because he has the ability to do it. So to me, that is a custom kayak trailer for have somebody do exactly what you want. So I want to welcome on tonight Steve Carrol and Jeff Little from Snake River Manufacturers. And introduce yourself. Most of you guys in the kayak community already know Jeff Little, but Steve, introduce yourself, where you're from, what you're all about, how you started, and where we are.
Sounds good. Yep. So my name is Steve Carroll. I live in Idaho, Caldwell, Idaho, and been on the kayak bass fishing circuit for many years. And here in Idaho, we've been pretty spoiled by having the largest freshwater fish that you can chase, which is the white sturgeon. So we really fell in love with chasing sturgeon out of kayaks, and that put us into some pretty sketchy areas, right? And the trailer systems that we had just weren't cutting it. How we were towing our equipment wasn't cutting it. And then from being all the way out here in Idaho, going out to the national bass championships, the trailers on those long hauls, they just weren't cutting it. So there's just been a lot of experience that has gone into everything that we've been designing. But most importantly, I've been building backup power systems, diesel generators, equipment switchgear enclosures for data centers such as Microsoft and Amazon and Google and Intel. And being in engineering for 20 years, you really got to find something that you love. And for me, it was kayak fishing, and that was a little over a decade ago. When you're sitting there in an engineering office, I tell this joke all the time. You really got to slit your wrist to see any color in the world because it's just so boring. But kayak fishing was a way to get away from all those emails and get away from everything. And man, I kept finding myself coming back to it, more and more and more. And then just here on the West Coast, there just really wasn't a whole lot of product offering, right? For getting into getting these heavy boats on a trailer system that's just not going to get all beat up over time. So I decided, we're gonna start doing this. We're gonna first build rod lockers, right? And that's what we started with, and we named the company Snake River Lockers based off of that. And then we needed a trailer to mount those lockers too. Well, as soon as we came out with our first edition, everybody just loved it, and the demand for the trailers really took off. So we pivoted and we matured the trailer product lines a lot faster than we did the rod locker designs. But we haven't been designing in an echo chamber. We've been designing with a lot of input from subject matter experts across the country. Brandon Hua, if you're watching, big shout out, man. A lot of his feedback has gone into hey, I need this. This works for me. This doesn't work for me. And have you thought about this? And I'm not afraid for somebody to tell me that my designs don't look good. Matter of fact, that's how you grow, right? You gotta take the good feedback with the bad feedback. You take all those community ideas, you put them together, you boil them down, and you get a condensate of the best possible ideas. And then what I do specifically is I go, okay, well, that's the problem. Here are a couple of unique solutions. Bounce those solutions off of some of my trusted guys, and we come up with a, hey, this is what's going to be the best to manufacture, easiest to manufacture. It's going to solve the most problems, and then we introduce that product into the market.
So I'm going to comment, Steve, on your comment about Idaho roads being a bit sketchy. Sure, we went down to Swan Falls. It was a little bit rutted, but that wasn't paved. I just drove the trailer, a trailer, the double from Idaho to Maryland, but I did it via Corpus Christi in Louisiana, and then went up into Ohio and then home. I was all over the place, and I would say the sketchiest, Louisiana. I don't know why. Louisiana, like they do construction and like they they um they just jam you into the narrowest possible little channel between two barrier walls, and when you're doing that, it's the road you're on is, I don't know, it was just the roughest, and I felt good looking back there saying that thing's a tank. It's fine. It's handling it, and also knowing that I have the enduro spare tire mount if I needed it to replace the bearing and the hub assembly. It did great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So Jeff is on the road.
Bad.
Jeff is on the road, and he's got one of our doubles in tow, and he's making a sales loop across the country. Right, he's seeing dealers all over the country. Right, and where you started in Idaho. Where was your first spot? Corpus Christi?
No, I stopped by to see Brady's store at Select Sale and Sport in Nebraska. He actually was not open yet seasonally, and I went to Tulsa Kayak, went up to Eco Fishing Shop. I missed Mariner Sales just because of when I was coming through, they had just closed. Did TG Canoe and Kayak in San Marcos. Roy's Bait and Tackle in Corpus Christi. It was Pack and Paddle. Stopped by there to see those guys, and I actually picked up something there. I grabbed I needed a cover for the Pro Angler because I'm gonna be pulling the Pro Angler quite a bit on the trailer. The one I got set up with the forward facing sonar and the 360 transducer and the Solix 12. Like I'm happy to be back in that. That just got to be too much for me to always get into the truck bed. I could do it. I did it with the landing gear, but like, I was doing goofy things. Like even at Door Shack, get this, I was without a trailer. I was going down the ramp at Den Acres head first into like headlights towards the water so that I could pull. No, I did it intentionally so I could pull the Boondocks landing gear up around, and it's easier to load it into the bed if you're on higher ground than it is to try and like lift that thing up and in, like also pushing uphill.
That makes sense.
I got some looks from people like, dude, you're doing it wrong. I was like, no, this works. This is better. But I'll be happy to have that, have it on the trailer next time I go, which I hope is real soon.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, you got to go to Instagram. I think you're on Facebook as well too, right? With Snake River Manufacturing.
Yeah, it's Snake River Manufacturing. I think on Facebook, it still might be Snake River Lockers. I can't remember.
Okay. But you guys have to go check out those social media pages because there's been a lot of detailed walkthroughs, short videos by Steve, Jeff in there as well. And if you guys don't know, Jeff teamed up with Steve and has helped promoting this trailer. If you guys don't know that, and Snake River manufacturing in general, just traveling around trying to find dealers that want to carry trailers because being that Steve's out in Idaho, so just trying to build that network and building the company as well and getting Steve's trailers across the country a lot easier to you guys as well. But let's get into a little bit of the actual trailer. What's setting you apart from other manufacturers?
I'm going to turn it back on you, Ryan. Right from the get go, you said you're A B, but you couldn't get C. What are your A, Bs, and Cs? What are your
Well, I asked, to get into detail without telling who it is. I wanted the full cage at one point around my kayak trailer. So the person I was talking to has a pre-made jig where you could go up and just do, your angled piece for your um, Yakima top order boxes. I wanted the full cage. I wanted the flat part across the top because when you have, and Steve would know this. I mean, yes, you do have support with having the angle and the flat piece, and I've had that in the past. But when I had my Hobie on top of that or whatever, I would have a little bit of flimsiness to it. And it was okay. It was rated for the weight, but I wanted the full cage. So all you had to do is the other 22 or 30-degree angle and come straight down. And I wanted the full cage. Now it makes it a little harder when you're wet launching because you have that cage in your way. But I was told they wouldn't do that, and they've done it in the past. And I know it's just adding a mirror image on the other side to make yourself a full cage to have that top part to it to have a little bit more stability and be able to mount two Yakima top order boxes on it. And they would not do it for me. So that kind of turned me off from that manufacturer, unfortunately. And I looked in other ways and I've done my own stuff too. But I know if I had Steve to do that, he would throw it on the CAD and he would do it for me. That's one thing that's going to set, Steve apart from other manufacturers because he's going to do what you want and not question it.
So, do you happen to have that 10-second video of the trailer coming together with all the options? I want to play that real quick and see if I can speak to it. It had the red Hobie on it.
The red Hobie. Well, I'm on your website right now, and I see you got Dream Trailer YouTube at the bottom. You want to see if I can go on for Steve? I mean, not Steve. Jeff's video on YouTube, or do you have it on Instagram? You're talking about?
Let's see. I think I might have. Made...
I think we lost them.
We'll talk about. We'll talk about why that is. Why we can do that, right? So everything that we do. Here's a little part right here. Everything that we do comes off of a laser, right? So here's a D-ring. And it's very precise. It's very precision laser cut, right? So with that, we can also include all of this geometry. Now, having the ability to make precision parts gives you the ability to, maintain super tight tolerances, which gives you the ability to standardize the world of non-standard. So when we look at the kayak trailer and we go, okay, we need to make a single that has the rack, but also has the ability to put the rack on the other side, so that if you do want to put a full cage on it, you can. So one of the problems that we're solving is if you have a kayak trailer that you specify and you buy, right, it's going to be fully welded, and you really can't change it. And I did an article a couple of years ago for Jackson Kayak where I talked about, hey, the best trailer for you is going to be the one that satisfies your needs. So that trailer is going to be different for every single person. So we knew we needed to build a kayak trailer that was modular in nature, so that you could upgrade, you could add accessories to it, you could add racks to it quickly and easily. And when you do that, you're going to be getting an engineered solution, right? So you're getting a trailer that's been verified by an independent third-party structural engineer. And we shot a video over at Tamarack Grove, Jeff and I, looking at some of the FEA simulations where we load the trailer with a certain amount of weight, and we stress it. We check it for millions of cycles, and we look for failure points, and we design those failure points out of the system. So when you get one of our base trailers, and if you could only if you're looking to get into something for not too much money, one of our base trailers is the way to go. But knowing that your base trailer can be upgraded later on, where you can bolt on engineered systems, you can always upgrade later. What you see is not what you get. As your needs as an angler change. One season you may want to run just the rack. The next season you may want to run the rack as a full rack, so you can put a rooftop tent on it. Right. So our trailer systems give you that ability to have to quickly, make that accessory purchase and bolt it onto your trailer system. And because of the precision parts and how everything is cut and put together on jigs and fixture tables, it's good. You're guaranteed that every single part is going to match up perfectly. And what that'll do too is, hey, that trailer, if you ever sell it, it should theoretically hold up its resale value very well, because it has a lot of utility. Because it's a trailer that's been specifically built around the kayaks to solve all the problems that we've seen, that Jeff's seen, that I've seen, that a lot of the SMEs have seen, subject matter experts have seen. We take all that feedback and we build our trailers around the kayaks. So that's the big difference, right? You're not going to get a fully welded system. You don't need a fully welded system. You need an engineered system that's proven to not fail. And you need to have that modular nature so that you can grow with your trailer as your needs grow. So you don't have to worry about, do I need to sell this trailer and get a new one? No, I just, go onto the website, buy the accessories, bolt those accessories on, and away we go. Now I'm ready for season 2 or season 3 or season 4, and on and on.
We're at sort of a unique point in time, and I actually have been waving off a lot of these podcast opportunities for a while till we had more to talk about. And some of what I was waiting for it to be ready was a more fleshed out list of accessories on our website. We're not quite there yet. We are really close to being able to say this. All right, I want the single, and I want the walking platform on it, and I want the underglow lights, and I want the enduro spare tire mount, and I don't know if I want the upright yet or not. I think I can, at that point, getting those things, I'm about at my limit once you factor in what it costs to get it shipped of my budget. That's okay. You can do the upright later. And that's one of the changes from 24 to 25 models, is like this one that I'm delivering, now down to Chad is still a welded on upright. Because it'll be bolt on, that'll be something that you can add later. That's when Steve's talking about the modular system. That's one of the things that is that it buys the customer, is the ability to say, I don't know that I really need a platform for my cooler, because I don't know how much camping I'm going to do. And then maybe you run the trailer for like 3 years, and your kids get a little bit older, and then they can go with you, and you're like, all right, I need, the double is great. I can bring these two on the upright. I can put that third kayak instead of the rods, the rod box. But we're camping all the time. Now I need that little platform for the cooler. So having that be something that you can defer to later when your budget allows for, to afford the different accessories that you want to add on to it. So
Yeah, and I'm going to share my screen here, and I want to show you some of the clips from Instagram. And I've been to multiple trailer shops. I've been in them, and what I'm seeing here from you guys, this stuff I know about, but I want to show everybody else out there that haven't seen this yet. But there's things on Instagram that you're going to see, and starting with this here, let me share. Let me get this full screen. So, I mean, 6kW. What is this, Steve? What do we call this thing?
So this is what's known as a structural tube laser, right? So this is one of the largest, actually the largest structural tube laser in the state of Idaho. It is 40 foot long. It has a 40-foot in feed, and it can cut profiles up to 14 by 14 inches square. has a 6 kilowatt power source, and it has a 5-axis head. So we can get all of our angles, everything cut perfectly. In this particular application, we're actually cutting some W10 by 49 I-beams, some really heavy stuff, because we're building some geothermal power plant components as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
this machine handles everything.
and I mean, with those precision cuts, guys, you're gonna get a better weld. You're gonna get, a lot better fit instead of just doing it by hand. I mean, here Steve's showing, I mean, his CAD ability and everything else. What you guys can see here is, all the designs and CAD designs and things that he can do. I mean, I have not yet seen that, and maybe people have improved since I've been to their shops, but this is things that I normally do not see at a kayak trailer shop. You will not see this. So just the ability to do that. And if you go on here and just see all these little things, the things that he does with the wiring and running the wire loom inside the, which one is that? Maybe this one?
Oh, this
No.
is this is the cavity wax. So this is the cavity wax is pretty neat because you really got to be able to protect the interior of the frame. And the
Mm-hmm.
way we do that is with we coat the interior, right? So the powder coat isn't going to be able to cover everything on the inside. This wax, we put 3 layers, heavy duty layers on the interior. So we have these special mouse holes, we call them, where we're able to chase this wand. It's a 3-foot wand, and we can put that inside the frame, and we depress the applicator and pull. And what you're seeing there is it's coating the entire inside. Now that little clear tube is pretty narrow, so it looks like it's filling it. It's not filling it. It's not filling it like you would see with a spray foam. It's coating with a thick layer of wax on the whole inside, and what that's going to do is it's going to form a membrane between the steel and the elements as you dunk this trailer into the water, right? So, we build these things to last.
I
And
actually got to do the trailer that I'm pulling for Chad. I got to do the cavity wax on that one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's it's just that level of detail. I had my hands on with adding the rock and rollers and the bunk stagers, like a bunch of different things, and I will tell you that every step Steve would be like, before you do that, you need to know this and this, and you got to put it on that way. Little details like he's like, look at those washers before you put them on. You see how like one side is kind of rounded and one is sharp. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I don't want to see the sharp side up against that paint, because people would be putting these on and taking them off and changing the position to get the bunks higher or lower based on which kayak you have on there, or getting the bunk stagers wider for the shape of the underside of different. You're going to be moving them around, and I was like, I would have never thought to look at it. And every step has that nuance that Steve's super um you know he's just it sounds trite to say someone pays attention to details, but like you know he's been putting these together like they're his babies. Every one of them is like his his offspring. It's like it's got to be perfect. So much pride in it, and I was grateful to be hands on and learn those details, and really know what it is to put the cavity wax on. And I don't know everything, and I know all of that's going into the manufacturing standard operating procedure, like you know, just to have that consistent, well put together,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm just trying to look see the video that you sent me, Steve, and I would have to put that on. I think via email. I could probably do that via email, but just a whole viewer. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that Steve does, like uh, prepping for a rear view camera, or on the back of the trailer. He's got a video on that. Having the bunk wheels. I'm trying to find that video here for everybody to see, but the availability to be able to take your kayak on and off with literally a finger. It's just adding wheels to your bunk, and it helps it bring it on and off a lot easier. And then we do have a question from Chris here. You know, oh, Wrong one. Thoughts on PVC versus metal bunks. Now, my opinion, I would always go with metal just because that's what I prefer. But what do you think about that as far as PVC versus metal bunks, Steve? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, sure. So, we're gonna look at durability. We're gonna look at installation. Um, you know, every shop, every process is based around the equipment that you have and the resources that you have available. Not everybody has the availability to have access to a welder. Not everybody has the access to get to a CNC laser cutter. So we do, and one of the things that when we look at our failure modes, it's known as a failure mode effect analysis. We look at things that are plastic and how can plastic fail? Well, plastic can fail in a multiple different ways, right? It can get sun faded, it can get UV faded over time, and you could wind up breaking PVC. So PVC is a great short-term solution for the DIY guys. I wouldn't consider it a permanent installation, but there's guys out there that have been running them for years successfully. Um, they're they have different exposure levels, right? That they're putting their stuff in. They have different requirements or different duty cycles, I should say. Now, with the steel bunks, what you're going to get is you're going to get a consistent rail for the life of that trailer, right? And we're using, we've done them both, right? We've used EMT conduit with 2-inch EMT conduit. That's a galvanized conduit rail. It's really thin, so it's very prone and susceptible to denting. Has poor weldability, creates toxic fumes when you weld to it. It's just nasty stuff, and it's also expensive. So by using the 1.5-inch Schedule 40 pipe, you're getting a thicker wall, and you're getting an OD that's essentially 2 inches, right? Well, so on our rails, we're going to use that 1.5-inch Schedule 40 pipe, and we're going to fully weld the end caps on. The other, again, with plastic, failure modes with it, they crack, they break all the time. And the end caps that we would use in the EMT conduit, guys would lose them. And the trailers they just don't look nice without the dressing on them. So by having that pipe and fully welded end caps with steel 1/4-inch steel bunk supports, that you're going to be getting a super rigid rail system that's going to be able to support the accessories such as the rock and rollers for years and years to come. And those
Hey,
rock and
Ryan,
rollers. Go ahead.
Ryan, have you owned a Hobie?
Yes, I have. I had a Hobie PA14.
Do you know the booklet they give you that tells you, like in pictograph form, like the 16 different ways you're not allowed to store or transport your kayak?
I never paid attention to it because I just did what I
Okay, but
wanted anyway.
you knew, like you at least saw it at some point. And if you
Yeah.
ever read that thing, it's basically this CYA cover your ass list of don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, so that you don't in transport or storage damage, warp, or otherwise deform the hull.
hmm
It is important. It's a little bit, hey, you don't want to be liable. You want to be able to say, oh no, you voided the warranty when you stored it this way or transported it that way. It really is, though, about minimizing the damage in transport and storage, um, by, like, they actually sell the carts that have the actual contour to the bottom of it. And the idea behind that is that you have more points of contact in that protects it from deforming or the impact of going down the road or whatever else, where if you only have 2 points of contact, which are your 2 bunks, it's I'm not saying that damage is going to happen one way or the other, but when you have more points of contact, it rides more secure, and it is just more supported, especially if you got a lot of stuff on there. If you have the battery and just like, I'm leaving it in there and driving down the road and all your other gear, when you put a lot of weight on it, it needs more points of contact.
Oh yeah.
I've
Let's
just set up Steve to talk about why the rock and rollers exist, and maybe talk about the bow stops.
Yeah, and I'll actually show. I actually see the video here on those.
Yeah, so this is the assembly process and the design process, right? So what we're looking at here is this is a plate and spindle, and we're utilizing laser welded components, right? So that's our laser welder. We have a 2 kilowatt fiber laser welder, and we get everything powder coated. Then we assemble these boat rollers. We've adapted them for our application, and what you see, if you could pause right there.
Yeah, I probably could. Let me see. I never actually like go on Instagram and actually play with the videos, and especially on my computer. I never do it at the time anyway, so it might be off a little bit.
Actually, let's if can you pull up the website for the rock and roller kit?
Yeah, I'm sure I could here. I got the website up here, so right there.
Perfect. Yeah. So let's take a look at that. So what we're looking at is we're looking at a Native Titan 12.5X, and it's a super wide boat, and its chines are really, really narrow. And these rock and rollers came from a problem that we ran into in the field, right? When we put our first native kayak on there, it just didn't want to sit right on the rails. And all of the stuff on the internet was saying the same thing. It's like, oh, this is what this guy did, but nothing. There was never really a good solution for the natives. So we, we thought about it for a couple of days, and we kicked around a couple of ideas, and ultimately, this idea won because it was the simplest, easiest thing to put together, and it just works. It works great. So what they do is you bolt them onto the downcomers. Now every snake for manufacturing trailer is going to have these accessory mounting holes in the bunks for these rock and roller kits. You can always buy them individually and add them onto your own trailer, or you can buy them when you buy the trailer in general. But what they'll do is they'll take the you'll install them, and then you'll rotate them up so that the flat portion is in contact with the bottom of the hole, and that's going to add a lot of stability to the hole. But what it's also going to do is it's going to provide those additional points of contact, right? So if you think about it from an engineering perspective, right, you have a Hobie PA14, by itself, I think it's 140 pounds, and it sits on roughly 4.5 feet of rail. So you have that kayak sitting on two rails, going down the highway, traveling thousands of miles. You're seeing a lot of cyclic cycles, right? You're cycling that plastic back and forth, back and forth. And what I've seen in my experience is that most of these kayaks that fail, they fail in the scupper ports. That's where you see cracks generate and propagate. So by alleviating the stresses seen on the chine, specifically the scupper ports, and spreading that weight out over more surface points, you reduce the stresses seen at each individual point, thereby reducing hole stresses. So in theory, it should also prolong the life of the hole by reducing those road stresses. But it has
Yeah.
an incredible benefit, and the benefit is it's when you go to pull this thing off the trailer, you're so used to just yanking a kayak off the back of a trailer, right? Because that's what we're used to. Jeff, you've experienced it. You can
So
take your fully loaded PA and just with one finger pull it off the back of the trailer with ease.
so
It feels like a
most
really, really
most
nice.
people want to just float it off, like submerge the trailer and totally just float it off there. That's ideal. But there's a whole lot of places in the world where, when the ramp comes down, it's just not shallow enough unless you're like throwing your truck all the way out into, in my case, the middle of the Susquehanna River, or a lot of them in Florida. Florida's very flat. There's a lot of ramps that just don't give you that depth. And yes, you have to be able to shove it off. And having, you have them on the bunks, but having the rollers on the sides, the rock and rollers, it does make it so when you're doing that launch where you have to really shove it off of the bunks, you're not straining, you're not working, real hard to get it. It's just more points of contact, and when you need that assist to get it off, it just goes a lot easier. It's less, force that's required when you're kind of doing something with a wet surface. And I don't know. I've seen enough people kind of overexert themselves or slip or whatever, struggling with that whole maneuver. So the rock and rollers are they're an accessory that there isn't anyone I wouldn't recommend it to. Like you got to have them.
Yeah, and what people don't see is like it's probably hard to tell from sharing the screen, but that rock and roller has a little slit in it, and you can tilt them and move it. You got the bottom bolt guys, and then you have the other one at the top, right, Steve? Or no, it's the bottom. So you got the top bolt that's stationary, and then the bottom you have the adjustability to move these things in and out and change the angle and fit your kayak the way it needs to,
So they
be.
go up and down
Mm-hmm.
with the different bolt configurations on the bunk stagers, and then they rotate to reach, to really properly support the angle where it meets the kayak.
Yeah.
I just did it with the Pro Angler. I know that when we drop off this one, I want to do a video with Chad because he's going to put his XTR on there, and it'll be. I'm going to have to start writing down, hey, the the bunk stager position for this model is this, and they're this far apart. I'm gonna have to start chronicling that. But every boat is different, but with the adjustability of the bunks and the height, and then the rock and roller kits. It's gonna take you half an hour to get everything just right, but once it is, you're gonna love having your boat on there.
So, while I try to pull something else up here, I want to show you guys. So, where are we at for price points? What do you really offer, Steve? You got the singles, you got doubles. Do you do triples? Will you do a four banger? I mean, will you be able to, build a four kayak holder and still have room and stay within that 8'6" width, platform that you have to legally go down the road with? Be able to carry four kayaks and have like two Yakima rod boxes. I mean, that's what I'd be looking for.
Yeah, no. So we have, and we have, what was it, like 3 pages of accessories and product that is on the we need to get to board. And some of those are higher priorities than others, but those include multiple different variants of rod lockers. We're gonna pretty well upset the rod locker market here really quick. We have the walk-on singles, which I think is a just absolute home run because you got this big porch that you've got on one side and you can walk up and down the thing and launch it. We've got our doubles, and we're working on a really slick auto loader system for the double, right? So you can put a third kayak on the top of the double, and essentially what it is it's a system where you load this thing behind the trailer on flat ground, so you're not lifting anything really heavy. And it's a system that will bolt onto all existing doubles, and then with the hoist situation, we've got an electromechanical situation where it will lift the bow of the kayak up and pretty much stage it so that you can grab the back of the kayak and just lift half the weight, and then it'll slide forward on rails, right? So you'll bolt everything down, or you'll strap everything down while it's down flat. So it's very ergonomic. And then you push the button, and it does most of the heavy lifting. It lifts it, I'd say 80% of the way up onto the roof situation, onto the roof rack. And then you just pick up the tail and slide it forward, and away you go. But it's a way to reduce back strain, especially with some of these bigger boats. Boats aren't getting any lighter, and the specific demographic of people that are in this market, that's a concern. That's a concern for them, especially heavy lifting of those boats. Quads
Boats are getting heavier, and we're getting older.
Yes.
Boats are getting heavier, and so am I. So this is one of those things. But yes, no, we will eventually be. So we'll have all of these options, all these accessories, fully listed on the website with all the models. And there is a configurator tool that we're working on where you can view the 3D model. And I sent you a link in the email there, Ryan. of one of the 3D model viewers.
Right there.
So you can kind of zoom into this thing and you can rotate it around and
Full screen.
really dissect the trailer, right? So because we do everything in SolidWorks, we have all this data that we can then bring into the website so that we can build that configurator tool. So you'll start with a base double or a base single, and then you'll just start adding options to it, and then you can see.
Ryan.
Don't have to yell at me, Jeff. Let me see here. I'm zooming in.
And,
I'm trying to figure this stuff out. There we go.
What's really cool on this too is there's an explode button. Click on that explode button, and then drag that little slider. Right, so you're going to see some really cool Tony Stark stuff happening here.
Yeah, very cool.
So you get to see all the parts and pieces that go into making these trailer systems. So you can do that and bring it all back together. But we have the ability where, we have these different kayaks. We've got the Hobies, we've got the Jacksons, we've got the Old Towns. You'll pick your base model, you'll pick your kayak, and then you'll start adding your options, and you'll see your kayak trailer come to life in real time, right in front of you. And then it will give you the updated price. And as soon as we're done with all of the 3D online configuration tools and we've got our dealer network set up and that's rocking and rolling, we're gonna work on additional product lines, and those are going to be the RV camper trailers, the zombie apocalypse trailers. So the kayak trailers are a really good way to cut our teeth on building out our back end systems and building out our customer facing systems. To give us a lot of experience before we get into that, $30,000-$40,000 adventure trailer market.
Very cool.
Did you happen to have the augmented reality video? Because I want to talk about that.
I don't know if you might have sent that to me on my phone a while ago. I think you talking about the one where you can actually hook it up to your truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that one. That's probably from a while ago.
On the zombie apocalypse thing, we do have a rocket launcher accessory, and then your ballistics storage management system. So you're gonna have all your firepower really well organized to just blow up all the zombies.
Nice. But before we get off this, I do want to show you guys here, you got your built-in winches, you got your stops, you got a swing away tongue option. The holder for the 7-way, for your 7-way plug goes into a holder so it's not sitting on the ground, which you can see, actually you can see right here. So that your 7-way is sitting in a holder on the trailer, so it's just not dangling over, getting water in it, getting snow in it. You have the option for your, your front box. You have your top order box. You can add another top order box on the other side. You got your roller wheels. You can do metal bunks. You can do plastic bunks. Steve has a bunch of videos on there about, how the metal bunks, how you can stand on it and walk around. It's just not, you could always say that, kayak trailers all look the same, but they're not, because the quality will go a long way. Steve will do whatever you want. You just talk to him, he'll put it in CAD, see if it's doable, and you're not going to get that from other manufacturers, which is nice. So, it's very, very, very cool what Steve is offering. And then when we get into, let me get you up here. Once we get into our big builds, that'll be really cool too. So let me just see if I can find that video, because you don't have it up online, right, on your website?
No, not yet. But you could actually go to the website right now and see one of our, I think it's our DZ tongue box accessory. As you flip through the images, you get to the very last one. That's a augmented reality viewer. So you can actually see that box in 3D and rotate it around. But what you'll be able to do is you can use your phone and take that trailer that you configured, right? And then you can put it in your driveway and do a digital walkthrough where you can actually take your phone and walk through and get a totally immersive experience and really be able to zoom in and look at, what makes these things unique, what makes these things different. But you get to see it at full scale. You get to see how much space it's going to take up behind the truck. Is this thing going to fit in my side yard? Is this thing going to fit in my driveway? What is this thing going to look like? How high is this thing? Well, I don't know if you've ever used one of those Amazon furniture viewers where you get to see a couch or something. It's essentially the same technology, right? But you get to take your 3D trailer configuration, throw it into augmented reality, and get to view it and do a digital walkthrough. And that is such a huge sales tool because it says a couple things. One, it tells you exactly what you're getting, and you can do a full walkthrough without actually having to leave your house and get to see everything. And two, it tells you that, hey, look, this company has put a lot of time into building this stuff out to be able to say to you guys like, hey, look, this is how serious we are about this. And I think this particular market was waiting for somebody who has 2 decades of manufacturing experience with building these massive 500,000 pound buildings to be able to jump into this space. Somebody who shares the same passion, right? I love sturgeon fishing. I love kayak sturgeon fishing. We had a video that went viral a couple of years ago. If you look up Sturgeon Steve on YouTube, you'll find a big 8-foot sturgeon jumping out of the water, just about lands on the kayak. It's so much fun. And what I'm able to do today is I'm able to live my American dream because I get to build the things that I want to build. I get to talk to the incredible people that are buying our products, and we get to just love everything that we're building, and it's awesome. And I'm so lucky to have a guy like Jeff Little on our team to help us showcase, hey, everything that we're doing.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that video. Wait, is it this one or no?
Let me see if I can post it. Let me see if I can post it to the Instagram real quick. Let's do that. And
Yeah,
then
because you sent it to me a long time ago when I think we were just messaging through Instagram. So to share that from Instagram, you're asking an old guy to do a lot. I'm still learning all this stuff as I go here myself.
So one of the options that we have coming that we haven't fully implemented yet, but it's an important one, especially for folks that definitely leave the pavement and don't always launch at a paved ramp, is the timber and independent suspension. And basically it means that you do not have an axle there, so it helps with your clearance a little bit, but also when one side of the trailer gets in a really deep rut, the whole thing isn't bouncing. It just, that one side goes up, and I don't know. Independent suspension is something that just keeps your load level. It keeps things from really being, jostled and banged around. And Timbren makes some really nice stuff, and we're designing to implement that, to swap it out from the standard suspension to, if you're really into the off-road thing, and leaving the pavement behind, it's going to be a nice option.
Yeah, for sure.
Not a cheap option, but a nice one that I'm looking forward to to utilizing.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, I looked at that on just regular cargo trailers, and adding your torsion suspension, it adds quite a bit of money to the trailer, but at the same time, it does give you. I think we lost him, but he's trying to probably post to Instagram. But yeah, I mean, you have a better. It's a better ride. It's more stable because your wheels stay more connected with the pavement. But it is not a cheap option. But if you really want to soften your ride down the road, especially with a kayak, it is a great option. Especially, this is a trailer that you're going to buy once, and you can add options later as you can afford it. And it's just a great. Here we go. He's back. It's just a great option doing that, and then you just have this trailer for life, and you just keep adding things to it, and that's what makes it great for sure. I mean, I rather just, people. I'm an exception. I go through trailers and trucks like crazy, but most people don't, and they want to be able to buy something to keep for a very long time, and that's what you're going to get with Snake River over everybody else. I'm not bashing other manufacturers. There's a lot of good ones out there, but what I've seen from Steve, what we've talked about, behind the scenes, what you're seeing on Instagram, you're not seeing that from a lot of other places because they're trying to bang them out in numbers. They're trying to get them put together, weld them, get them powder coated and out the door to make sales. It's understandable. Will that trailer last you for a while? Sure, it will. But you may have something fail down the line. To me, having that laser cutter, having your cuts done perfectly, having a laser welder, and making all your connections right, lining the inside with the wax, running your wires through the trailer with your wire loom so there's no sharp edges around the corner, be able to add all your accessories for your lights, light up the area around you, and have quality lights, even though, LED lights are a little bit more expensive now and they're easy to replace, but the quality of the build is what matters. That's what I see in Snake River over everybody else, and I've had them all. All the box trailers I have. You have inexpensive ones and you have expensive ones, and the expensive ones are a better put together quality build. This last time I did spend a little extra money and got a little bit more of a custom build, and you can see the difference. So it's definitely worth it for sure to spend the money. But if you actually look at Steve's single trailer online right now, what he has up there, it's actually, I think, priced better than most ones out there, and it's a good starting point, for what you're going to get, as you can see on Instagram, and as we're talking here, what you're getting over everybody else. So you may have somebody else that's in that same price point, but the quality's not going to be there. It may look the same when you throw paint on it, but it's not going to be the same. So I'm just going to see. Did you post something, Steve, or no?
I did. I did. Let's see if it went.
Let me see. Let me go back out and go back in. See if I
So I
can
wanted to, while we're trying to pull that up, mention that kayak fishing is a very DIY culture. Like in the first comment that someone posted comparing PVC to metal, yeah,
Mhm.
that means that someone's thinking, all right, I'm I've done the PVC thing. Is there something wrong with that? It's someone thinking in terms of I'm going to build it. In We think it's great. We really do. It's something that people, you know, they work their way up to a professionally built something, and sometimes not. And it's okay if you're never going to get there. If you're like, man, I like screwing around with an old jet ski trailer, and I like the project side of things. We are going to supply things like our metal fender, our bunks, our the rock and roller kits, all of the different, the bow stops and winch assemblies, all of that stuff. If you want to build your own, we're going to sell you the parts, right?
Mhm.
We're going to help you facilitate some of the more difficult parts of, that may really end up sending you to go find a local fabricator, which can get expensive. It's a lot like baking. You can make your pie with the crust from scratch and make the filling, or you can just buy the crust and then make the pie. It's we're basically going to supply the parts for the DIY market so that people that want to build their own are able to do it and know that, hey, I've got the Enduro spare tire mount on the one that I built, and I love having that spare bearing and hub assembly. If I break down, I know I don't have to drop the trailer, drive to a trailer supply place, which may or may not be open, and leave my whole rig with all my kayaks and everything else vulnerable to theft. You can fix it all right there. If you want that on your DIY, yeah, we'll sell you the Enduro spare tire mount.
Yeah, I
So
see it posted on my phone, Steve. Let me just see if I can get it up on my computer. Uh, But that's another thing too that you do that other people don't do is that you sell the parts, So I mean, for the DIYer, which is
Yeah,
great.
that's a huge market, and it's a very special market that's near and dear to my heart because when I was, years ago when I was getting into building my own trailers, there just wasn't anybody selling anything to support the DIY guys, and I have been that DIY guy, and I want to be able to support that community because I firmly believe that if we can get your project wrapped up with some quality parts, we've at least made that first contact, and you left with a really good taste in your mouth. And a year from now, you might come back and buy one of our trailer systems, or because of all the accessories that you bought, you may only need to buy the base trailer because you got all the other accessories. You could just switch them over and then have the full set, the full single or the full double.
Yeah. So we're gonna play this little video here, what Steve was talking about with like in your driveway type of thing.
Yep. So this is the 3D model viewer that we were just kind of looking at, but then you can click on it and go view in my space, and it's going to put a full scale model of that trailer that you can then pivot around. You can move it on the screen with your fingertips, and then what we're doing here is we're just showing what it looks like. Theoretically hooking it up to the back of the truck, right? So it's using augmented reality to see what this whole thing looks like. And the idea with this, giving users the ability to do this, is it lets them see everything in more detail. And who knows, somebody might make a really cool reel of that and then share it to their buddies. So it's a really big, powerful marketing tool, but it's also a really good communication tool as well. Because I know when I've been looking for some super specific things, I've had some super specific questions. If I had a tool like this, I could have answered my own questions. But it's really nice to be able to see your kayak trailer in situation in your driveway and know that hey, this is what I specified. This is what I'm going to get, and
Yes.
it's awesome.
So this scale here that's shown in this video, that's the scale. So if you hook that to the back of your truck, you know how far it's going to be sticking behind your truck, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So I mean that's cool as well because people say, "Oh, I can't fit it in my driveway," and here's with your steel bunks. I mean, it comes with plastic as originally,
Oh,
right? But then
yeah,
but
these are
then
the metal fenders, or this is the plastic that we're seeing right here. But here's
Mhm.
the metal fender. Yeah, so these metal fenders, these are a direct drop-in replacement. So if you have a 13-inch plastic fender and it's a CE Smith part number, they're all pretty much the exact same.
Steve's
You can,
about to dance here. He
yeah,
steps up there like it's dance platform. He gets a little bit happy right here.
Hmm.
Yay!
yeah.
So
Happy
the
Steve.
so does it come with the metal one, Steve, or does it come with plastic and this is an option to go metal?
It comes with the plastic by default, right? Because there's a lot of time that goes into custom fabricating those fenders. So we have jigs that put those parts together. We have a lot of really cool strategically placed tab and slot, and we use a laser welding process to build those out. So your typical MIG process or TIG process just isn't going to cut it. You need the speed from the laser welder, but even with the benefit of the laser welder, those are still fairly difficult components to put on, but they're worth it, right? So they're going to be they're going to be something that's going to eliminate the failure mode of, hey, I've had a plastic fender just shatter, or you know you take the trailer down the road and a rock hit it, and now I've got all these gravel marks in my plastic fender and it's just sun faded. The plastic fenders will look good the first day you buy it, but the second you take them out, they build up a lot of static electricity for some reason, so they just collect dust, and they never look as good. They scratch pretty easy. So the metal fenders are one and done. The bulletproof fender system, right? So you can grab one of these, pop it onto your existing system, and it doesn't even have to be one of our trailers. It can be somebody else's trailer. It just if you're tired of replacing plastic fenders, I think Chad said that he's replaced about a dozen of them over the life of the ownership of trailers that he's had.
An
And
armadillo hitting a plastic fender will like just it goes into pieces. Like I was behind someone at one of the KBF like at Kentucky Lake and just watched this armadillo come just at the wrong time and just the plastic just
oh, the
Yeah.
poor thing.
Well, plus
Oh
Chad
man.
too. Chad's not easy on any of his equipment for sure. So Chad beats the hell out of all his stuff. So he's a good tester anyway. But so overall, what I'm hearing that there is a crap ton of stuff coming down the line. Sorry, Amazon's talking to me, or Alexa's talking to me in my background. So you have a lot of stuff coming down the line, it seems, as far as other trailers as well, and you're going to keep evolving on the kayak trailers, it seems too, as well.
Yep. Nope. We promise we will never stop innovating. When it comes to the things that we're passionate about, as our market continues to change and as the kayaks continue to change, as new products get developed, you need to have elegant solutions that think about how anglers are using those tools, how do you get that time back at the ramp? How do you get your cycle times so low that you can afford to move 3 times in a tournament? Ask Brandon how he had done that, and I think he caught big bass day one of that Clear Lake event. He did. He moved like three times in that tournament, but he had the ability to because of the speed at which you can launch and load. No longer are you sitting there for 45 minutes. You pull up, unstrap, drop a fully rigged kayak into the water, and away you go. And
Yeah.
all of those things were taken into account, right? Our rack position. If you've got a black pack 16 by 16 in the back and you've got your rods vertical, how do you put the rods in so that they don't interfere with the rack? Well, that's why we have that offset in our rack so that we can avoid our rods hitting that rack. I lost a Carolina rig rod one time because of that very problem. Way back when the kayak came too far forward and the rod hit the overhead situation and snapped that rod in half. So all the feedback, all the experiences, not just from myself, but from subject matter experts in the industry, have what they've told me. Hey, what are some problem areas? We look at all those problems and figure out the best possible solution, and then put that into practice with our CAD models, and then put them into production.
Yeah, and I mean, and also, if anybody out there has an idea yourself, reach out to Steve, because he always takes, input from everybody out there, that uses trailers or DIY their stuff. Say, hey, Steve, how about this? Run it by him, and I guarantee you he can put it in CAD and make it come to life for you. And you also may give him an idea to add to future trailers as well. I mean, there's some things I could think about too. Probably not right now because I'm tired, but there's a lot of things I could think of to add to a kayak trailer. I mean, give me a day, and I could probably come up with a whole bunch of things I'd want to do. So,
Can I tease with just one of those things that we're working on? So, end of the day, you get your kayak up on the trailer. What do you do next? Like, you pull up and you vacate the ramp so other people can use it, right?
hmm
What are you doing then?
you got to put all your stuff away.
Okay, you got to unhook a battery for
hmm
a motor, whether it's Torqeedo or Newport or a bow mount or whatever it is. Okay, what do you do with that battery? What do you do with that battery, Ryan?
I throw it. Well, I have an enclosed trailer right now, so this stays in my kayak. But normally, when I had the kayak trailer, I would put it either in my deck box or in the back of my truck.
Okay. What if you could unhook it, lift it, put it in a locked cabinet, and start charging it
Yeah,
right
from your
there? And you haven't moved your feet. You have not walked away from where you unhooked it.
hmm
The cabinet where that battery goes is up and in right in front of, like, it's positioned right there. Now
Sounds
apply that
good.
to other things. Apply it to other things. That's where we're going.
Yeah, because basically you just take your 12 volt, you put an inverter in, give yourself the 120 that you need, and you can charge all sorts of things as you're driving.
Yep.
So I
Right.
like it.
There's a lot of DC load calcs that have to be factored in, and total length of the home runs for
hmm
all the accessory equipment, so that the specific wire size, cross sectional area is sized so that we're not over stressing the wire. But we have a bit of electrical engineering that goes into the sizing of the conductors for the specific application. And one of those systems that Jeff is talking about is the charging systems, right? Keeping, how cool would it be to just pull a pigtail down from the rack of the kayak trailer and plug it into your kayak, and boom, you're charging your kayak as you're driving down the road.
Yeah,
So those are all coming down the pike.
nice. And you're not going to get that with anybody else, guys. I mean, with Steve's engineering, Jeff's input from everybody else, and for Steve to keep always innovating, that is what you're getting. It's a nice thing to hear and see that somebody's just not building 3 different models and they stick with that, and the constant innovation, and just that whole charging thing. I'm definitely excited to see this stuff, and I guarantee you'll see probably one of your trailers behind me one day for sure.
Oh, awesome. I would love that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Ryan.
Hopefully my wife's not listening to this, but I'll have to probably sell some things, but we'll see for sure, because the way I change things. But I don't see too many questions tonight. I guess everybody's just listening, which is usually abnormal. It's kind of abnormal. Usually, I thought there'd be a little bit more questions, but if anybody has any questions, throw them in there now. But just go check out Snake River Manufacturing online, check out social media, and just stay tuned as you see all these innovations come your way. Jeff's gonna be driving all over the place. You're gonna start seeing these at kayak shops and possibly even the trailer dealer. I don't know where we could go with this. You could probably even go to the trailer dealers too. I just thought about that just now. Because I think I seen one not too long ago. They sell utility trailers and they sell cargo trailers. And I think I did see a kayak trailer at one of these places here locally in South Carolina. So that's also an option too. You know,
That's not where I'm starting. Like, we have to take care of our kayak fishing specialty retailers. That's where I'm going.
yeah.
Tomorrow, I think I'm driving almost, I think it's a little more than 700 miles tomorrow to see two dealers, one in New York, one in Connecticut. And then the next morning, or actually after that, I go to New Hampshire. Um, those specialty retailers, I don't know. I wouldn't diffuse it going to someone that doesn't understand kayak fishing. They're important. They're worth fighting for, and they're worth partnering with. And that's, we do not have a dealer network now. Everything that we've sold has been individual, where Steve is, driven like 6 states away to meet someone, and that's just not scalable. It just isn't. It isn't even scalable if you had me, and I'm a crazy, like, love driving, love going long distances. We have to partner with dealers to be able to ship in quantities, and part of that is why we're going to make the upright an accessory instead of a standard part. Not everyone wants the upright. I actually was talking with Casey Reed, and he's like, well, how much is it without the upright? And we hadn't really thought through it, but it makes sense. We also need it because we're going to be stacking these on a flatbed and shipping them across the United States in a hot shot where you can get, like, we don't totally know how this is going to go, but like, one case study we did is to say, all right, we can get 6 of them stacked, and we get 3 stacks of 6 on a 53-foot flatbed, trailer, in running across, and then shipping's, only like, what did we say? It was like between $400 and $500 per
It
trailer,
was,
which I
it was
think is reasonable.
pretty reasonable. And one of the things that we're learning through this countrywide tour right now that Jeff is on is, man, a lot of these kayak dealers, they just don't have a forklift. So we're exploring the option to get a piggyback forklift that goes on the bed, or goes on the very back, the tail of the trailer, so that we can offload our trailer cells at the dealer to be able to make that happen. So that's kind of why we're still looking at that logistical problem, and figuring out ways to overcome those problems.
But here in the Charleston area, we do have a lot of trailer sales just for boat trailers. So we do have a lot of kayakers around here. So what I'm saying, down the line, I think you can just get into selling the kayak trailers to the boat trailers as well, because that's all they carry. It's just boat trailers. So this is a boat trailer. And we do have a lot of kayakers here. So just to having that availability, just to be able to go look, touch, feel in person, is always an option too, as well, for sure. Because I guarantee you would do sales through boat trailers sales as well. And we do have a question here from Joey from Bass Raff. How custom do you go with base design? I need a little different style for my rig. So I'm not really sure what you're asking there, but
I do. I know his boat.
yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, he's coming on next week, if I'm not mistaken, I think, anyway. So
Cool. We would figure something out with you, man. His what, it's like a Kevlar blend, super lightweight. Like, he's a young entrepreneur I met up in Wisconsin at the Kayak Adventure Series event last fall, and he car topped it on, I want to say, like a Civic or something else, and like, I saw it. I was like, what is that? And I don't know, he lit up. He's like, all right, let me tell you about it. But it's his his new business, and it's a very unique lightweight craft that is I don't know. We could work something out.
Yeah, I mean, basically, he would probably just need like a catamaran or like a like a pontoon style trailer for his setup. And I won't give too much away, but yeah, that thing only weighs like 60 pounds if I'm not mistaken, his whole setup. But yeah, I mean, you definitely reach out to Steve
I
if
don't
you
even
want
think it's that.
Joey. And
I think
then
it's less than that.
is it? I think it was when I looked at his website real quick. I thought it was only 60. Well, we'll find out next week. But reach out to Steve, Joey, and then I'm sure you could work with something on CAD for you, and come up with an idea for that. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm super excited what's coming down the pipeline, and I'm sure when I order one, it's going to be every bell and whistle you can put on it, and the biggest that you can make it. So I want 8'6" wide. I want a trailer that weighs 1,500 pounds with nothing on it, and I want something super heavy duty, and probably about maybe 100,000 lumens of light around it. So
100,000 lumens of light.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that
Well,
we can do
I,
that.
I'm an electrician, so I always light everything up.
We're
So
gonna
Perfect.
we're gonna have to like melt lead into his frame to get up to his weight requirement.
yeah, I know. I want it
Yeah.
as heavy as you can go. So
Yeah.
well, I appreciate having you guys on tonight. Anything else you want to add to this?
I appreciate you having us on and talking trailers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it, and thanks for reaching out and letting us, giving us a platform to be able to talk about the things that we're passionate about, and we're serious about this kayak trailer business, which is why we brought Jeff Little on board, because we believe in his ability, we believe in our product, and we're just knocking down targets. They're popping up, and we're knocking them down, and we're having a fun time doing it, and getting to come on to shows like yours and talk with some incredible people. I just really appreciate it. It's all part of that American dream. So thank you very much, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I definitely want to have you guys on again, maybe 6, 9 months. We'll see. I'll talk to you guys, see what's new out there so we can showcase that as well. And, keep jumping on other lives and just keep spreading the word. And I think you guys will do great. I know, like I said, from all the trailers I've been through, I would never look anywhere else but your trailers. And I'm not just saying that because I'm having you on, just because I know trailers and I know what you're doing that I haven't seen from anybody else, and the quality and the care that you do. So that's what makes, just like I tell the guys at work, if you care about your job and you are passionate about it and you want to make a career out of it, you are going to be a better electrician than somebody who's just coming for a paycheck. And that's what you're getting with Steve's build. You're getting somebody who cares about every detail, is passionate about what he's doing, and that's why he is doing this. So you can get a better build out of his trailers than anybody else's. So people are probably going to hate me for saying that, but whatever. So, but yeah, we'll have you guys back on again for sure. I appreciate you guys coming on, and I appreciate everybody who stopped by tonight, and anybody who's rewatching this later. And just go check out Steve at Snake River Manufacturing, and it's awesome that you have Jeff on board with you now. And Jeff is one of the biggest names in the kayak community scene, just for everything. From fishing to safety. Jeff is one of my favorite guys. That's why I enjoy hanging out with Jeff personally, anyway. So, but as always, guys, be safe on the water, and I'll catch you guys on the water. And next week will be Joey from Bass Raft, and you're going to see this cool thing that Joey came out with. I'm not going to give too much away, so you guys have to stop by next week at Tuesday at 7 p.m. So see you guys later. Thanks for stopping
Awesome.
by.
See you.
Thanks, guys. Bye for now.